A dash of mystery, a sparkle of magic, and all things cozy. Join your host, Elle Hartford, for Cozy Alchemy, a proud member of the Authors on the Air network. Hello and welcome to Cozy Alchemy, the podcast all about cozy, time-traveling books. I'm Elle, and my guest today is Jaclyn Moriarty, author of Time Travel for Beginners, which we will get to in just a minute. But first, Jaclyn's going to start us off with a game of two truths and a lie.
Hello, Elle. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
So, two truths and a lie. And you don't put them in that order, do you? You don't say,
No.
I'm about to obediently give you two truths and a lie. That would mess with the game. So one of these is going to be a lie. Okay. I have a, number one, I have a 2,400 day streak on Duolingo, and I've never used a single streak freeze. Number
Ooh.
two, I cannot stand the taste of chocolate. I find it very bitter and unpleasant. And number three, I grew up with two horses, two dogs, a cat, a duck, and 12 chickens.
Ooh. I like that 12 chickens and one duck. That duck sounds like you might be a little lonely. Let's see. I'm going to guess that the second one is the lie.
Oh, no. I thought I said that really
No.
convincingly. I was proud of myself. Yeah, no, chocolate's my favorite thing. One of
Nice.
my top favorite things. Yes. So, but I do know and respect people who do not like chocolate. I'm a little bit in awe of them.
Yeah. Well, and that's honestly why I guessed it was the lies, because I'm like, what? That's so sad, if true. Although it is true for some people. It's true.
It's true. Yeah.
Now, that begs the question, what language are you learning on Duolingo?
Well, yeah, I'm always embarrassed. I always want to show off that I've got this 2,400 day streak on Duolingo, but I've been doing French all that time. And
Oh.
there was an interview with a French player after, I don't know if you watched the World Cup, the soccer that was, and there was an interview with a French player after the game, and I really hardly understood a word. So the people I was watching with turned to me expectantly for me to translate, and I had to pretend I was distracted by something. So anyway, I'll do another 1,000 or 2,000. I feel like I might need to do something in addition to Duolingo to really get my French
Yeah.
going.
That's what I think, where the spoken language, like natural native speakers of the language, go so fast and slur things together so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I lived in
Yeah.
Montreal for a few years a long time ago, and I never learnt French while I was there. So that's why I'm learning it now, because that
Oh.
thing where I would like to go back in time and be able to speak French.
Well, and that is an excellent segue. So your book, Time Travel for Beginners, it came out at the beginning, or just a couple days ago. I was going to say the beginning of this month, which was not that long ago. So congratulations, first of
Thank you
all.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about it to get us started?
Sure. Time Travel for Beginners is the story of a nondescript storefront on a suburban road in Sydney, Australia, that is between a sushi shop and a gelato bar. And it calls itself the Time Travel Agency and promises its customers short trips for a fee, short trips back in time. And you can go as far back as you want to dinosaur times or even further back, or you can go as recently as your own kitchen a week ago. And the catch is that nothing you do while traveling will change the present. And it's told from the perspective of three characters. One is Anna, who just got a job at the time travel agency. And Teddy is a customer there whose marriage has just broken down, and he wants to go back in time to various points in his marriage to see what he did wrong and see if he can win his wife back. And the third perspective is Jade, who thinks the place is a giant hoax and wants to burn it down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have to say, right off the bat, I really like how, um, like I feel like, with time travel stories, a lot of time the tension comes from the idea that you can change the present by doing something in the past. And I really like how this is kind of flipped on its head of where, um, you're not going to change the present. So on one hand, that's a relief, but on the other hand, that can, lead to a lot of reflection and kind of still sadness, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was interested in doing, partly because I love time travel books, but I always feel like it's rare that they really close off all the loopholes about changing the
Mm.
past. And when they say, don't touch anything because you can't change, don't interfere with anything. And I always think it doesn't matter how small you know, that butterfly effect. Doesn't matter how small a step you take, that could have dramatic effects. And that whole grandfather paradox. And every time they do have
Yeah.
a big change and then they go back and say, okay, we'll fix it, I always think, no, you can't. There are just too many possibilities for things going in different directions. So partly I just liked the idea of not having that issue, just simplifying it and streamlining it. And
Mm.
by doing that to purify the theme of regret and loss, because the and I wanted it to be almost, I mean, it's actual time travel. So I wanted it to be fun and an adventure so you can have all that fun without worrying about that. But also I wanted
Mhm.
to explore ideas about regret and loss and to do that in a more pure way. So, and almost like a metaphor for how we deal with regret and loss ourselves and how we go back, but you can't actually alter anything. And so then the question is, would you actually, if you could do something right, not make a mistake that you made, would you go and pay the money and do it right, knowing that nothing would change when you came back, but that in another. So each time, the theory of the time travel agency is each time you travel, you're creating a new universe. So,
Mm.
so you, so the question is, would you go? Would it help to know that? Would it be soothing to know? Well, at least there's a universe where I got it right.
Mhm. Yeah. And I wanna go back because you said the way you framed it as a metaphor, right? I really like that. Um, on this podcast, we talk to a lot of cozy fantasy authors, cozy mystery, different cozy genres. And that's one of the things that I am just endlessly fascinated by is kind of the worlds that we build in stories that then and the what ifs that function, to kind of um just help us explore, these emotions and yeah, would it be helpful or or would it just lead to, complicated situations, complicated feelings.
Exactly.
Um
Yeah. Just
mm.
like you. I don't know if you have any. Well, you don't have to tell me about your regrets, but when you have regrets, but even small things. So you forget to. I had a book event, and it was the big launch party, and I was thanking everybody at the end, and I couldn't get my piece of paper with the list, but I was looking around the crowd, thinking, I think I've thanked everybody I need to. But my agent, who is this wonderful woman who worked so hard for this book, and she's not very tall, and she was behind a
Oh
tall
no.
person. So I couldn't see her in the crowd, and that didn't trigger a memory. And then as soon as it finished, she came and gave me a gift and a congratulations gift, including this book of,
Oh.
so talking about chocolates, this little pamphlet with book of poems about chocolate, because she knows how much I love chocolate. And
Oh.
then, so even though I had a wonderful party, everything was fantastic and perfect, I just woke in the night and was just, no, how did you forget to thank Tara? What's wrong with you? And going over and
Oh.
over in my head, wanting to do it again. So what I'm trying to say is, when you have regrets and you keep replaying it in your head over and over, trying to do it
Mhm.
right. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
imagining.
I think that's very relatable, and I think well, I don't know, this might be a "there's 2 kinds of people in the world" situation, but if there
Exactly.
are, I'm definitely of that camp. So Well, and on that note, so of course I have um I got the art copy, which comes with this lovely letter from you at the beginning. I don't know if that was in the normal published copy also, but you in this letter you talk about your inspiration for the book and also for the different regrets that the main characters have.
Okay.
Uh which is so much fun. Can we start by talking about your inspiration for the book?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and it's funny
Mm-hmm.
that I have that really specific memory, because a lot of my books that I write, and when I go to publish them and people start asking where do you get the idea, I just find it impossible because and it's not very interesting to say, well, I just thought of it. I just came up with an idea.
I
People want
know.
a story. So at least for this one, I know that it was about 20 years ago, and I was riding on a bus along a Sydney street, and I looked out of the bus window and saw a time travel agency. And um, just sitting there, and it was between a few different shops and just in a suburban street. And for one microsecond, I completely and utterly believed that the secret to time travel had been discovered. And now there was this little agency where you could maybe buy tickets or pay an agent to recommend a tour for you back in time and maybe book you lodgings in Elizabethan inns or give you adventure tours through, plague times or dinosaur times. And I was so happy and elated, and also thinking, why is this not in the news? And why are people just walking past? Just nobody turning sideways to look at it. But that'll happen in one just fraction of a second in my head, because then I looked back again and saw that, in fact, a billboard for Time magazine was leaning sideways against just a regular old travel agency, and they were merged together. So there was it just looked like a time travel agency. There was no time travel agency.
Or I don't know. I mean, maybe you got a glimpse of something you shouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
then it
much
was good.
prefer that. Yes, thank you. Maybe I did.
But I know I adore how like it just a totally mundane moment it spawns all of this creativity and all of this whimsy and reflection. Um Nah, and I also really appreciate that this story, that means that this, at least the kernel of this idea, has been kicking around in your head for the past 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. And it was,
Mm.
um, I did start to become a bit panicky about whether I'd ever actually write it, because
Mm.
I really want, at the time I thought, well, I should write a book about that as a way of cheering myself up partly. But to do that, I thought that I should do research. So I thought, okay, this is an agency that will let you go anywhere you like in the past, anywhere, any place, any time in the past. So I better research history. And that's what I was saying to myself. History. You need to cover all history. So I was just so that could have gone on forever. And I also
Mm.
wanted to research physics, quantum physics, because I wanted to basically invent time travel. I wanted to see how I wanted to see how it might be possible, and to try to convince myself, because anytime I write a book, I want to start by convincing myself that this is real. So I like things to have a slightly magical edge, and I want the magic to feel completely real to me. So I read a lot of quantum physics, and there was a review of this book. There was a very nice review which I really liked, but one line in it said, Moriarty clearly doesn't care at all about the physics of the thing. And it made me
Oh.
laugh, because I do care. Do you know how much time I spent reading my quantum physics? Um, So I was, yeah, so it was taking a long time, and it was that thing where you're having a lot of fun and you really like the idea. So you're afraid of starting it because once
Yeah.
it crystallizes, it can, when, before you start, it's this impossibly wonderful, majestic, magical book. But if you start writing, then it's just me writing. So one thing that helped was, a friend saying to me, because my original plan was it will be about regrets you have about relationships. And a friend
Mm,
said, who cares about regrets and relationships? The real regrets we have are about decisions we make about our children. And
mm,
so that sent me in a different direction that helped to bring the plot together, because then I thought, oh, well, I have two characters who have really different approaches to parenting and contrast there. And they're both wondering if they've made mistakes. And they have 13-year-olds, because I think 13's around the age where the decisions start to become almost impossible, because that's
mm.
when you're trying to balance their right to autonomy and your need to protect them. So, and they're becoming more independent and feistier. Um, And then luckily somebody asked me to, because I also write for children, and I mostly write for children and young adults, but I usually have a grown-up book going. And somebody asked me about 9 years ago, I think someone said, would you write a short story for this collection of young adult short stories on the theme of beginnings and endings and beginnings? And that made me think that could work with time travel. And maybe that's an
Mm.
opportunity to just, in short story form, actually finally see if I can create a fictional time travel agency. So I think that really helped, because I really liked that story. And it was just a really simple story of a character going to a time travel agency. And in a collection called Begin and Begin, and I had a lot of fun writing it. And the time travel agency came to life. I found it really easy to write, I guess, because I'd been thinking about it already for 10 or 15 years by then. So that was like a but I springboard into actually finally, okay, you can write this book.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I love that. That's such a, I feel like that's such a real benefit of short stories, right? Because you can kind of, like,
Exactly.
dip your toe in, yeah, and it
Exactly.
doesn't feel as big. Yeah.
It's yeah, no, it's terrifying. Yes.
But I have to say, especially with the time travel book, yeah, when you have all of history and some very complicated physics,
Yeah.
you'd be hard pressed to find a more daunting task to research, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and also more fun, because the
Mm,
history, I didn't want to just do, you couldn't do big picture history and lists of dates, because if you're time traveling, you want immersive history. So I was reading a
mhm.
lot of first person history accounts, contemporaneous diaries and things like that. So it was like I was time traveling myself so I didn't want to stop researching, because I was right there immersing myself in 17th century and, oh, well, all the centuries, lots of them. And then also when I decided that they put together tours, like music highlights through the centuries,
Yeah.
and Anna, who's got a job there, wants to create literary tours where you get to meet your favorite authors and see the places that inspired their books and things like that. So then, of course, I had to read biographies of my favorite authors ready for the. So it was such a fun book to research.
Okay, now that leads me to several questions.
Okay.
The first of which is, what was your favorite book to read for research? Uh,
Oh, okay. That's really difficult because I love so many. One, I, I'll just say two quickly. And even though you said
Mm.
my favorite, one was a biography of Frances Hodgson Burnett,
Oh.
who wrote the Secret Garden and The Little Princess, because I felt like I was the character Anna reading it and getting really enthralled, because she has such her life. is so twisty turny and up and down from poverty to wealth, back to poverty to wealth, and lots of secret gardens throughout her life. And so I was thinking, this is a perfect opportunity for a tour through history. So I loved that. But also I always loved the Bronte sisters, and
Ooh,
Elizabeth Gaskell was friends with, have I got the right?
right.
Yeah, I might have the wrong name.
Charlotte.
With Charlotte Bronte, yeah.
Yeah,
And she
yeah.
wrote a biography of her, and so I loved reading that biography. Because again, that just felt like I was right there with them, because she was doing it in a very intimate, personal way.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is not just research as an author, but research as like character development, and which is really cool. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that's really neat. Okay, so other follow-up question: did you have more broadly a favorite time period to research or to write about?
I did. Again, I'm being indecisive about that, because there were so many that I liked. I loved researching medieval Europe.
Mm,
Um, and little villages in medieval times, but and Jane Austen's England, because I
of
also love
course.
Jane Austen, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And rounding out our trio of time travel questions, I'm sure you've been asked this quite a bit, but it's obligatory. If you could do a time travel tour or go back in time, what would you do?
And I keep getting asked this, and then
Mm.
I think, why have you not come up with a perfect answer to that yet? But again, that's my indecisiveness. Each time I'm asked, I give a different answer. One time I said I really want to go back in time to the trivia night that I had been to the week before, because I'd accidentally given the wrong answer to a question that I knew. And that's one of those regret things where I was, and we lost by, and do you know the Killers, the band The Killers?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a song called Mr. Brightside.
Of course.
Of
Yeah.
course, which is their biggest song, and I know it perfectly
Yeah.
well. And I saw them in concert, but I guess I'd had a couple of drinks, and
Uh,
I'm a really cheap drunk. Um, but or and nobody else knew the answer to this, but I knew perfectly well it was called Mr. Brightside. But they played a little bit of it, and
uh,
I a tiny bit of it. And the chorus goes, jealousy, jealousy. It keeps saying
mm,
jealousy. So I said it's called jealousy. And I was very definite about that. It's called
uh,
jealousy. And we lost by 1 point. So
ooh.
yeah, I can't believe I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that answer as as I'm giving you the example of a terrible answer I once gave. I'm really interested. I'd love to see animals that go back to the time of where animals that are extinct
Oh,
now, because I think
yeah.
that would be like a fantasy, the dodo bird and those kind of giant kangaroos, not just dinosaurs, because Jurassic Park already did that, but that
Yeah.
those kind of, or if there was a way you could do it safely, when there were huge, and this is a dinosaur situation, but those, was it called a megalodon? Those
Oh, mm-hmm. The
just the
really big
immensity of,
guys.
yeah, the
Yeah.
really big guys,
Yeah.
exactly, swimming in the ocean. So I think they would seem like fantasy. It would like be going to a fantasy world, going back to times where there were
Sure.
extraordinary plants and colors and animals that seem, because giraffes still seem magical to me now. They're
Mm.
impossible, a giraffe and a zebra. So if you went back in time and saw just that extraordinary shapes and colors and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. And I like that idea of like that motivation of finding the magic in our world. That's fun.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. No. I well, and to be fair. It is a question that I think is set up to be impossible for you to answer because you wrote a whole book about all of the different places
And
where
all
you
the
can go.
options.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've
So
got
of course you can't choose one.
and I've got thousands of pages of research that never made it into the book too. So, but thank you. Do you know where you would go if you could time travel?
Oh, that's tough. And I feel like I bring this up maybe every podcast episode, but my background is in history and archaeology.
Ah,
Um, so I know enough to be dangerous, right? Or enough to know that a lot of places are places you wouldn't want to live in the past. You wouldn't necessarily want to live,
yeah,
but
yes.
I am pretty fascinated by ancient Egypt. So I would like to go back to ancient Egypt, which of course is like thousands of years, but I'd have to pick a specific time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. I'd
Mm,
love to go there too. That yeah,
yeah.
maybe I choose that instead. No, I'm switching. I'm coming with you to ancient Egypt.
All right. Yeah, we can go together. Do a tour.
Well, especially because you've got the expertise. You're a historian and archaeologist. You can be. When you
Like it's
travel, you don't want to
yeah.
miss the important bits, so you can be my tour
Right.
guide.
Right. Well, like I said, I only know enough to be dangerous. It's been a while since I was in that path. All right. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit from time travel because you do have a lot of other books. Um, are there any that you'd like to highlight, or how has your writing path evolved?
Oh, thank you.
Mm.
Um, well, I'd love to mention that I have a series of books for probably 8 to 12-year-olds, middle grade. No, not middle grade. Is that what you call them? Junior fiction?
Mm,
Anyway,
I think so.
um, I should know what my books are, but yeah, they're probably for 8 or 9 to 12-year-olds, and they're called the Kingdoms and Empires series, which are set in another world called the Kingdoms and Empires. And each of the books there, it's a series, but they're standalone books, and each of the books focuses on a different character but part of the same
Nice.
circle of characters. And I've got a new one coming out in November called
Ah.
The Accidental World Slip of Astrid Verity, about a 10-year-old
Ooh.
girl named Astrid who accidentally finds herself trapped in our world. So I'm
Ah.
I'm happy about that one coming out in November. But
Very cool.
and you wanted to know my path to becoming a writer?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
sure. I grew up in a family of 6 children, and a lot of us like to tell stories. So our dad, instead of giving us pocket money, used to commission us to write stories. So you got $1.50 if you filled up an exercise book with words. Um,
Nice.
and and so I grew up, and then he had this toy game of roulette, like in casinos,
Mm.
and he would win all the money back from us. Um, but so I grew up through high school wanting to be dreaming of being a writer. It's really what I wanted to do. But then, you finish school and you realize that's not a sensible
Mm.
or feasible career choice, and you have to be grown up. And so I studied English and law at Sydney University. And when I'd finished that, I realized I'd have to become a lawyer. So I went overseas to study more law to put off becoming a lawyer for as long as I possibly could. And did a master's in America and a PhD in England. And while I was doing
Nice.
the thank you. While I was doing the PhD, I realized this could be my last chance to become a writer, because once I'd finished that, I was going to have to get a job as a lawyer because I'd run out
Mm.
of things to study. And so I made a secret pact with myself that I was not going to be allowed to go home from England until I was a published writer. And evenings when I was doing the PhD, in the evenings, I would, so this is in the 1990s, and I didn't have a laptop, so I'd walk across campus to the university computer room, which was in a basement, and I worked on a novel for young adults that I called Feeling Sorry for Celia. And so I finished that while I was doing the PhD, and then I sent it to a publisher in London who sent it straight back to me saying no thank you. And I sent it to another publisher and they said no thank you. I sent it to 10 or 20 publishers and literary agents, and they all said no. And by this time I finished my PhD and run out of money, and my visa had expired. And it turned out that a secret pact with yourself not to go home until you're a published author is not legitimate grounds for extension of a visa. So I went home and I did get a job as a lawyer. And on my first day at work, I put the printout of Feeling Sorry for Celia in the corner of my office, thinking when I get a chance, I'll work on rewriting it. And 1 year later, it was still sitting in the corner of the office because I had been very busy being a lawyer. So I picked it up one night. I was working back at 10 or 11 at night, and I picked it up and put it in an envelope and addressed it to a local literary agent. And I remember thinking that the envelope was like a rescue helicopter that was going to come and airlift me out of the law firm and send it away. And within a couple of weeks, I'd heard back from that. The agent who opened the envelope happened to be an author called Garth Nix, who is a fantasy writer. He's very successful, yeah. And he happened to be working as an agent at that time while he was writing. And he called me to say he loved it and liked to represent me. And within a few weeks, he'd found me publishers in Australia and the UK and the US. So that's my path. And two of my sisters are also authors. And one of them, Liane, always tells the story about I'm the second child in the family and she's the first child. So she always tells the story about when I got my first book published. She was furious, outraged, because she'd kind of forgotten. She'd got a job as a marketing manager and she was a successful career woman, and she kind of forgot our childhood dream of becoming a writer. So she always says in a fit of rage, she wrote her first novel. So and not long after that, our youngest sister, Nicola, I think she thought, if you two can do it, I can do it too. So she wrote a novel too. So even though my dad always used to take the credit because he commissioned us to write stories, I also like to take the credit for Liane and Nicola being writers now too. Yeah.
Well, and that does feel very reminiscent of the Bronte sisters, so I can see why. Yeah.
Thank you. I love it when people say it's reminiscent of the Bronte sisters.
All right. Okay. I ask this of everybody, and for you, I think it's very appropriate. If you could go back and talk to yourself, like when you were maybe just starting out publishing or as a law student, what advice would you give to yourself about the writing world?
Oh, that's a good question. I think one funny thing is that when I was growing up, I was really shy and really quiet, and I always had in the back of my mind whenever I had something. So I found social situations scary, or when I had to speak to a group or anything like that. But I always would think, don't worry, one day you'll be a writer. So I would tell myself, don't worry, one day I'll be able to hide away in a garret or somewhere and write my books, and I will never have to come out in the world. And so all through, and when I was a lawyer, I would just think, don't worry, whenever I had to go to court, don't worry, one day you'll be a writer. And then when I got that first book published, the publishers said, we're having a party for you to celebrate, and you're going to meet all the sales team. And I remember walking into this room, and I could see all these people, and they're all waiting for me. And so being quite frightened and thinking to myself, don't worry, one day you'll be a writer. And oh, wait, this is what it is.
That's so, yeah.
So So I would like to tell myself, actually, don't worry, you you'll you'll learn to love being at parties, and that just the possibility of change, that I think that it was so good. I mean, I think it was good for me being a lawyer, having to go to court and things like that, but then
Mm,
being in positions where you have to be on panels and contribute, and it seems really scary, and talk to crowds and things like that seems scary. But then the more you do it, the more you get used to it. So it's that thing. If you do scary things, eventually you get used to it. Now I really like it. I mean, I'm always nervous before I have to talk, but you can't. And you might have already noticed that it's hard to get me to shut up now. So I just, I really like.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure talking to. I just love people. So
Mhm,
I think I'd like to go back to that person and say, just um, if you come out of your own head, you have to get out of your own head and just start thinking
mhm.
about what a pleasure it is talking to other people. And
Yeah. I love that. For me, it was very much the same where, like, um, once I decided to really make a go of it, publishing became the impetus that really made me, like, come out of my shell
oh,
and
really?
be
Yeah.
okay with talking to people.
Oh, good.
But when it's for the sake of something that you love so much, like, it makes it so much more fun, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So that is perfect. All right.
Thank you.
We'll get to our last question here in just a second. But first, is there any way, obviously, I will have like your bio and your website and that sort of thing in the show notes.
Mhm.
But is there any way that you would like people to find you online, like anywhere you're particularly active?
I'm pretty bad at being online, but I'm trying harder. And probably I like Instagram, so that's probably the best
Mm,
place to find me. Because I do like taking photos, and Instagram seems,
fair.
I don't know, it's probably changing, but it seemed like a gentler kind of place than
Yeah.
than a
Yeah.
lot of other places. So, and at the moment, my
Agreed.
Instagram is just full of. So I like taking photos. So, but at the moment, it's full of photos of time travel for beginners and publicity and things like that. So I feel like
Nice.
reassuring everybody, don't worry, I'm going to go back to taking photos of jacaranda trees in Sydney Harbour, and just not. Yeah, I'm
Well,
trying to
to
be
be
a good
fair,
girl and self promote.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and you're just a week out from publication date, right? Or
Thank
it's
you.
been only a
Yeah,
week,
it's
yeah.
just
So
thank you.
you're
That's very
allowed,
kind of
yeah,
you. Thank you.
yeah. All right. Well, and kind of building on that, what is one win that you've had in the past week?
Well, for me, a win is always when I can get up early. Um, I'm
Ah,
terrible. I'm really a night owl person, and
yeah.
I love staying up as till 2 or 3 and then sleeping late the next day. So when I just was on a book tour to a few different Australian cities in the last week. And instead of being excited about going on a book tour, I was just terrified looking at the schedule, thinking I have to get up like a regular person. And and um and so I'm proud of myself that I could do that. And I wasn't more than 5 minutes late anywhere. And
Nice.
there are and I'm terrible at ironing. Um and there is a photo of me in one, and I've mostly got my dresses ironed for events, but although there is one where I look at the photos and think, nope, you did not do that well. That dress is very crushed. But there's a big bookstore in Sydney, downtown Sydney, that's the biggest, called Dimmicks, and um they there was a big window display for the last week. I just went today to look at it, and so I've been writing for 25 years, but this book, um, the publishers have done such a beautiful job with the cover all over the world,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and they just did the most magnificent window display with umbrellas and clouds and a big time
Oh,
travel agency picture and the book everywhere, all looking colorful, and it was just like it was as exciting as getting your first book published to me. So
that
been
is
really special.
so cool.
Thank
So
you.
cool. And I love the kind of like full circle moment of like it starting with the chance, window sighting with the ad and
Oh
the
yeah, good
travel
point.
agency. And yeah, and now we have
I didn't
the
think of
window
that.
display.
Thank you. Oh, one more. Can I say one more? That was a win.
Sure.
That in one of the events I went to, there was a little family that came up to me who had listened to my Kingdoms and Empires books on audiobook while they were doing a road trip together, and the little boy told me that he called all of his goldfish after the names of the characters in the books. And that's a big win to have goldfish named after your
There
characters.
you go. Yeah. That's amazing. All right. Well, Jaclyn, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. It's been really lovely
Absolutely.
talking to you.
Thanks. All right. So, listeners, like I said, I have the link and everything in the show notes. So go check that out. And I will talk to you next time. Cozy Alchemy is brought to you by Authors on the Air, and our theme music is by Cyberwave Orchestra. For everything else, blame Elle. You can find her online at ellehartford.com.